Good evening. Welcome to the November 10th, 2015 meeting of Pequannock Township Council. Ms. Marsh?
In accordance with the requirements of New Jersey's Open Public Meetings Act, notice of this meeting was included in the annual meeting notice, which was filed in the office of the Township Clerk, posted on the bulletin board of the municipal building, published as legal notice in the Suburban Trends newspaper, and distributed to all persons requesting notice in accordance with Township policy.
Please join me in a pledge of allegiance, followed by a prayer and a moment of thanks for the individuals serving our nation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Most gracious Providence, we ask that you bless this governing body with an abundance of wisdom and understanding, so that every deliberation will result in actions which will promote the common good and general welfare for all the people of Pequannock Township. Amen.
Amen. The clerk will please call the roll.
Mrs. Florence Lynch?
Here.
Mr. Cole?
Here.
Mr. Phelan?
Here.
Mr. Vanderhoff?
Here.
Mayor Winterfield?
Here. There are no presentations scheduled for this evening, so we're going to move on to reports from volunteers. At this time are the reports or comments from any volunteers serving our community. And before we get started, I just want to say that I think that there's probably, if you raise your hands, there's a group of you out here who are concerned about the dog ordinance, right? So rather than have Parks and Rec give their presentation to the council on what the recommendation came out of their committee meeting, we're going to ask Tom Andrea to hold up on that so that we can handle that when we get to the items for discussion. Because I think a lot of your questions might get answered rather than you're coming up for comments. So if you can just hold off, we don't have a long, drawn-out agenda tonight. And I think if we do it in a more orderly fashion, we'll answer the questions a lot easier. And we definitely want to hear what you got to say because we need input to rework the ordinance. But it'd just be better if we do it in a different fashion. So if council has any agreements or disagreements with that? Everybody good with reordering that?
No, I mean, I think we all realize there's something to be done with the ordinance. We've gotten comments, emails, etc.
Right.
I would suggest the council write down any particulars they have, excuse me, give them to the manager, and so for early next year, we can get an ordinance together
Rework.
and get it moving, yeah.
Right, okay. All right, good. Is there any other volunteers who want to say anything regarding something different? Yes, Joe.
Joe Wells, 5 Washington Street, Pequannock, open space. I just want to give you a brief update on 2 things. One is the rail trail. I met with the town manager, the head of the Morris County Board of Transportation, one of his engineers, and also the architect engineer that's working with RBA Group, which is the designer of the rail trail. And the purpose was to, as I had spoken to the council earlier, was to get a crossing into Aquatic Park. So between us, we've come up with 2 potential sites. With council's permission, I'm going to forward those to the president of the rail and find what his feelings are. We also talked about a potential parking lot and rough design for at least temporary or initial entry into Aquatic Park.
That's good news. Yeah.
Any questions on that?
So the ball is rolling, correct, Joe?
Yeah, it's
Slowly.
slowly but surely. Just to give you an additional update, a good portion, actually probably as we speak now, all of the environmental studies in the town have been completed. The borings and those. I don't know if you're aware of it, but they did boring samples along the rail for now in the center and the east side of the rail, which would be the new route of the bike path. And those borings are completed in our town, but still remain to take place in Lincoln Park and Wayne, but would be completed by the end of the month.
Well, I'm sure they'll find the same samples in Wayne and Lincoln Park as they will here. I don't see how.
Yeah, just a simple comment about that. Whatever is found, you have to recall that there's going to be a 10-foot wide macadam pathway, which is going to be the center of the rail trail. There'll be some other improvements on it, but that in itself might resolve some environmental things, because most remediations involve encapsulation of whatever's there. So if you're already gonna put, in essence, a roadway of macadam above that area, they may not be that difficult to resolve.
We'll keep our fingers crossed then.
Right.
Yeah.
The other item I wanted to report on is I've initially marked the Riverwalk in 3 sections. And what I've done is put white blazes along the path. And I've also, at the beginning and end of each section, I have some construction tape if anybody wants to take a cursory inspection. It's not fully vetted out in the sense of cleared for walking through it, but if anybody wants to look at it, that would be the section by Riverside Park and up to the Turnpike, Pequannock Avenue from Shady to the Route 23, and the section of North Pequannock Avenue. And we'll be clearing that and also putting a more permanent trail marker there during this fall period.
Okay, that's great. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Any others for volunteers? The next item on the agenda is public comments. This public comment period will be limited to a total of 30 minutes. An additional period for public comment is reserved later in the meeting. Individuals are requested to limit their questions and comments to 3 minutes. If anyone wishes to address the council, please wait to be recognized to come to the microphone, provide your name and address for the record. And again, as I stated before, when we get to the item about the dog park and the dog ordinance, you can comment after that, because it might be just more appropriate for you to comment after you've heard us discuss it, and then you'll know what we're all thinking of here. Okay. The back there.
Hi, Marianne Vetter, 775 Newark Clinton Turnpike. I just was wondering if Mr. Holberg, if you got in touch with the recycling people about the tabs on the bottles. You were gonna check.
They're not a problem.
It's not a problem.
No.
Okay, good. And then you had said about there was a hike coming up Saturday.
Yeah, the Environmental Commission is running a hike up that
Mountainside.
mountainside, right?
Mountainside.
I think it starts at Cedar Crest, doesn't it?
It's starting at Cedar Crest, yes, yes.
Not at Mountainside.
I wasn't sure where that was going. Wait a minute. I said it at the last meeting. Do you know, Tom, where that hike is going? The reason I'm looking at Tom, he's on the Environmental Commission, and it was something they added. I know they're meeting at Cedar Crest, but I thought it was going through Mountainside. I can give it to you after the meeting. I probably have it in last week's.
Okay, because I was gonna go.
You're gonna go? All right. I probably have it in here.
Well,
But if, I don't
question is, arrangements been made with Cedar Crest to get the
Yes.
public in there
Yes,
and parking? And
yes.
That's okay. I'll get it from you later.
All right, I do have it.
We'll find it.
I know it's meeting at Cedar Crest.
Is it going to be on the website at all?
I think it's on there.
Oh, it's on there already.
Carol Marsh, I think they forwarded it to you, right? Correct? Or you don't know anything about it?
No, I think I found it on the
I think
website.
Diane Rizzi did it.
I think it's on the, I'm pretty sure it's on the website.
Yes, it is on the website.
I don't know that I did that, but.
I'll give it to you
Okay.
afterwards, though. We do have it, because I saw it on the website.
Okay. Anybody else? Good, Nate?
Nat Arkin, 303 Forest Glen in Pompton Plains. I live in Cedar Crest, and I'm also a member of the Coalition Against Pilgrim Pipeline. A few months ago, when we started to urge the council to pass an ordinance, you told us that you had referred this question to the planning board, and you would not make a decision until you heard from them, and that the decision would not be in the form of a formal report, but instead it would be included in the minutes of the planning board. Since then, we have received a copy of the planning board minutes, and I'd just like to read a little bit from you, to you, and then ask you a couple of questions. Under administrative, and I'm reading it verbatim now. Mr. Phelan stated that the town council would like some guidance on doing an ordinance against any unregulated pipeline going through the town. Then there was some discussion in the minutes about the regulatory process, mentioning that you anticipate that it'll be done at the state level. The lawyer for the planning board also stated that the Department of Environmental Protection and the Department of Transportation will have a role in the pipeline location. And this is the critical last sentence of the minutes that I want to read. It says, "The board decided that there was no need for further discussion on the matter of the pipeline at this time." And I'm reaching the conclusion that that was the recommendation from the planning board to the town council. Don't talk about this anymore, don't discuss it anymore. And if I'm interpreting that accurately, then I think it's really strange. There were no reasons given. There's no basis for the decision that's revealed in the minutes. There's no talk about an alternative plan, whether coming from the planning board or from the town council. Not even a word about trying to lobby the people who you anticipate will make the decision, which are the regulators at the state level. So if you can clarify that for me, I would appreciate it. But to me, it looks like your recommendations from the planning board are not to talk about it, not to discuss it.
I think what they're saying is that we're not recommending that you do an ordinance. We're not doing an ordinance at this time. I was there at that meeting, as you know, and the planning board attorney specifically talked about land use rules and so forth. And at that time, the planning board said, okay, at this point, we're not willing to recommend doing an ordinance to the town council. Nor are we recommending not doing an ordinance. We just remain as a neutral party at this point. So the council picks up on that and says, okay, they're not willing to say, let's do an ordinance or push forward an ordinance on that. So that's where it stands at this moment.
Okay, so I guess you're saying I'm reading too much into the direction not to discuss it or talk about it.
It's not a question of let's not discuss it. It's just, it's not something that they're recommending to do, which is an ordinance at this point.
Okay, I read it literally and came to a different
They're kind
conclusion.
of broad minutes. I mean, there's
They're not
actually.
specific.
I'm sorry, Jay, would you repeat that?
The minutes are, are not specific, they're, synopsis of what was said. It's not word for word, so,
There's actually a recording, I believe, of
yeah,
that
if you
meeting.
want that.
That's
Okay,
more.
that is the only information I
Got
had
paper
about
here
the
for you.
planning board's decision.
As the council said all along, this decision's going to be made at a higher authority. There's 4 bills, actually 5 bills, 4 dealing with pipelines in a negative aspect, and there's one that appears to be supportive. So it's at the state, it's in the Senate now. I highlighted them, but there are 4 bills in the state which we're going to regulate. Yeah, you can have it.
Okay, I'm going to anticipate that we'll continue to discuss it and talk about it.
Louise?
Louise Marchese of 16 Roland Road, and no disrespect to this group, I give them a lot of credit for coming out against the Pilgrim Pipeline. But Jay just said what I was just about to say. I did some reading on the internet, I've been looking at it and looking for information, and the Assembly knocked it down last December, the State Senate knocked it down in June. What I don't understand is why are we duplicating so much effort if it's already being handled on the state level? That's what I don't understand. Why do we even need to have an ordinance if the state is handling it?
That's
In
why
both
we're taking no
houses.
We
action.
decided at a higher level
Yeah.
than here.
Yeah, that's why we're.
But why
reading
do
it.
we need it? Why would we need an ordinance if it's already being handled by the state? I mean, it just doesn't make sense to me.
You're 100% right.
And that's the way
That's
we're
why
being
we-
advised too.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Anyone else? Public comment?
Can I jump in real quick? I got that information that they were looking for. I'll tell you that the event for Saturday, November 14th, you're going to be meeting at Cedar Crest. It says WC Clubhouse. What's WC? I don't know, but it says sign in at the gate, but it's the Cedar Crest WC Clubhouse. Sign in at the gate at 1 Cedar Crest Village.
No.
Yeah.
Yes, Nate.
WC is Woodland Commons Club.
Thank you, thank you. And it starts at 1, and you just let them know when you get to the gate that you're there for the, it's called the Foraging for Health Walk, and it's through Mountainside Park.
I'm sorry, how much is it? What did it say?
I don't think there's any fee. It's free.
Okay. There are no public hearings scheduled for this evening. There are no ordinance for introduction at this time. Next on the agenda is items, resolutions. Ms. Marsh.
Starting with Resolution 2015-187, authorizing tax office refunds, overpayments, or cancellations. 2015-188, appointing members of the Skateboard Park Advisory Committee. 189, confirming the designated memberships in the Pequannock Township Fire Department. 190, authorizing cancellation of outstanding checks. 2015-191, canceling unexpended capital appropriations balances. And 192, approving payment of the itemized claims as set forth on the November 6, 2015 bill list.
Okay. Are there any comments on the resolutions?
I guess I was just going to make a couple of comments on the 188 with the Skateboard Park Advisory Committee. My understanding is we only have 4 spots for the youth, right? Correct?
We have 4 spots for 6 applications.
Right, okay.
One of them has to be, four spots, one has to be a youth.
Right, okay,
So
okay.
that leaves 3 spots.
So that leaves 3. So, we did get a lot of applications there, so if you don't get on the committee, we still encourage everyone to go to those meetings, because unfortunately, you can't have too many people on the committee, but we do want everyone's input, so definitely, go
That's a
to
good
those
point,
meetings.
Melissa. It is a public meeting and all are welcome, so that's a good point.
Other than that, I think I'm good.
Anyone down there?
That's good.
I have one question, Dave, on 190, that's the one with the stale checks. Were they resolved, or are they being escheated, or are they just being canceled, or?
They're just being canceled. None of them qualify for cheat. And actually, the reason we're not doing
Some of them are
cancellations
not real cars.
for payroll is because there's really a different set of rules for checks made out to individuals. Some of them would
Okay.
cheat. But these were either replaced or turned out to be payments for things that materials were returned or.
Okay, so this is from the audit, just to clean up the items.
Well,
in the
one
audit?
of the recommendations from the audit was that there were old outstanding checks on some of the accounts, so yes, this is addressing one of those.
Okay, all right, that's my only question. All right, is there a motion to adopt these resolutions?
I'll make a motion to adopt resolution 2015-187 through 2015-192.
I'll second.
Roll call?
Mrs. Florence Lynch?
Yes.
Mr. Cole?
Yes.
Mr. Phelan?
Yes.
Mr. Vanderhoff?
Yes.
Mayor Winterfield?
Yes. Okay, the hot topic. Next item on the agenda is items for discussion. So Tom, I guess you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor. Tom Andreas, 6 Elm Road, Chair of the Parks and Rec Advisory Board. The first Monday of the month, we had a very productive meeting. We talked with residents about dogs in parks. We came up with a few recommendations for the council. We know right now, according to the ordinance, there's really no dogs allowed in parks with some exceptions. And working with the residents who are very pro dogs in parks, we came up with some things we agreed about, and now it's up to the council if that's interesting to them or they want to pursue that or how they want to handle that. But basically our recommendations were dogs will be permitted in all parks as long as they are on a 6-foot leash with the following exceptions: PV Park, township buildings, playgrounds and sports fields, along with large public events. You know, we didn't have the benefit of a lawyer at our meeting, so we couldn't flesh out everything and make it complete, but these were the general guidelines that we worked up with the residents, and they felt acceptable to that.
Do you have that in any kind of written format or no? You can
I
send
have
us-
I'll pass it along to you.
All right. Or you give it to Carol so she can send it. Yeah.
And what I gave to Carol is the minutes from the Parks and Rec Advisory Board meeting, and I highlighted this
Well,
section.
Here's something that I wanted to share with you, Tom. This is from Morris County. That's how they, and there's some good guidelines in there.
I liked it, some of the guidelines.
Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe between Parks and Rec and Council, you know, we can work on rewriting this so that, besides fixing the ordinance, we can have something educational like that. So that people, we can start to educate, because I think a lot of people didn't quite understand. I know myself, I was a dog owner for 12 years, and I walked my dog in places probably I shouldn't have, and didn't know about the ordinance.
Right, the odds of getting caught probably are so slim. And these are just guidelines too, so they're probably not in any regulations.
Well, there's a New Jersey, and Dave or Bob can explain, there's a New Jersey statute that all of this feeds off of. And they talk about that in that brochure, right in the very beginning of that.
Okay.
There's a New Jersey statute.
Can I borrow this, or?
Yeah, that's yours.
That's mine?
I was gonna
Okay.
steal a whole handful, but I, and then I tried to
Okay.
find it on the website and I couldn't.
So you're possibly saying that the state statute might trump our local ordinance as far as dogs in park?
No, it allows us to make rules, right?
Allows us to make rules, okay. All right, that's good. Yeah, you know, we worked with the residents, you know, our first crack at it was trying to keep it very simple, where it's so easy to enforce, it's the easiest. But with these newer rules, it's harder to enforce, but it gives the dog owners a lot more freedom to go into the parks. You know, and the dog owners who were present at that meeting, thought those restrictions of playgrounds and sports fields, you know, and the rest on that list were very reasonable, and they were amicable to those.
Did they talk anything about a penalty?
Some dog owners there thought, you know, penalties could be more and enforcement could be a lot more, you know, because they don't want responsible dog owners being penalized for somebody who's there being not responsible. That was a big concern. But I didn't want to get into that at our Parks and Rec Advisory Board meeting. We didn't have time to go into those kind of details.
As far as I'm concerned, I'm good with what I heard. My only concern would be what are the fines for dogs that are not on leashes? I mean, Dave, do you know what that current summons fine is?
Currently, no.
Is there a maximum we could set it at?
Well, typically,
I'm sure there is a maximum.
yeah, I mean, a lot of our fines follow a common structure of, you know, a nominal amount for the first, and most of our fines cap out at $1,000 after, you know, for second or third violation.
I certainly would not want a summons for $1,000 because I did not have my dog on a leash.
So you have your dog on a leash.
That's the
Yeah.
point, blindfolded. That is the point, guys.
Yeah,
Right,
you know, and the playgrounds and the sports field are reasonable exceptions, Peasby
well,
Park.
I think the dog off the leash is the biggest problem, in my opinion.
And cleaning up.
Well,
And cleaning up.
Right, and that's a separate ordinance we already have in town.
Well, I like the one guidelines in that brochure where it talks about just only 2 dogs too. Like you couldn't have 3 or 4
Right, you
because
can't
it's
go over
more
that.
than you can handle. You have
Right.
2 hands, 2 dogs.
If you'd like, I could read them quickly, it's up to you.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, and these are from the mayor guidelines for dogs in parks for Morris County Park Commission. Maximum of 2 dogs per adult, 2 hands equal 2 dogs. Current license tag must be visible on collar. Off leash in fenced areas only. Dogs must be on a leash between the car and the fenced area. Handler must maintain control over dogs at all times and immediately separate dogs displaying threatening behavior. No mounting. Protect your dog. Prevent negative behavior. Aggressive dogs must be immediately removed from the park in order to ensure the safety of your dog and others. Do not leave your dogs unattended. Fill holes and stop dogs from digging. Clean up after your dogs and dispose of waste in appropriate containers immediately. It is healthier for everyone. Pay particular attention during the first 5 minutes of your visit. Unacceptable behavior, including bites to people or dogs, must be reported immediately to park police at, and they give a phone number. No food for dogs or people in off-leash area. Use caution with toys. Keep entry gate closed at all times. Only 1 dog in entry area at a time. Unleash your dog as soon as you enter the gate. Leash him in the gate area as well. not in the dog park. Not recommended for dogs under 6 months, as all vaccinations are required. Puppies may be unprepared for boisterous play of bigger dogs. No dogs in heat allowed. If your dog has been in heat, please bathe it before using the area. All Morris County Park Commissioner rules and regulations as posted in the directory, as well as municipal ordinance and state laws shall apply. Children under 12 are not permitted. No, not all dogs welcome a child's attention. Running can encourage a dog's herd instincts. Keep your child safe and out of the dog park. And these are guidelines for the dog parks specifically.
So if we were to write an ordinance, and this is directed at the attorney, would the ordinance list all that in it?
Probably not.
That's
Those
a
would be
dog park.
regulations for the dog park we can look
That's a
at.
dog park.
Right.
And some of
Well,
them
there's
would
other
apply to
things
the
too.
park overall.
Right.
Okay, so the ordinance would basically say that dogs are allowed in the parks on leashes except for public events and for sporting events or whatever. however.
Playgrounds,
Right.
area,
But you-
playground,
But you could
sports
also make it
fields.
more specific, like 6-foot
Yeah,
leashes.
Right.
Yes.
we set a 6-foot leash.
Yeah.
Yes,
6-foot
right, and
leash.
that's in the information I gave to
Right.
Carol.
Right, and
And of
I
course guess
guess,
need to be licensed and
right,
registered
the
and
license
pick
has
up
to be
after.
there. And the, what is it, that bag pickup thing?
Yeah.
Poop thing.
It has to
Yeah.
be noticeable or whatever, I don't know.
Yeah, right, yeah. Well, yeah, but you have one.
We could have a
You
good
one.
Eagle Scout project, putting the bag posts up in parks, the entrance to the park.
That sounds like a nice easy
Well,
project.
it's better that they have it, because with my experiences, people don't take those and use them, and they
But
just,
certainly
In case
Parks
you
and
forget
Rec's,
one.
yeah.
you know, recommendations are workable into an ordinance.
Oh, yeah,
Yes.
I don't see a problem with it.
And we came up with those talking to dog owners. We had a really great group of people come out to help us.
I have to thank
That
you for
Monday.
hosting that meeting.
You're
That
very
took a lot of bravery.
It was a very good meeting. The residents were excellent.
And
We
I
were
went,
lucky.
I went to the Boy Scout pancake breakfast this week, and I sat down, and of course, I had my council shirt on, and the guy sat next to me, he says, I want to talk to you about the recycling. He says, I get 3 papers a day. What should I do with the bags now that they're not allowed?
Right,
I said, do you have any neighbors with dogs? They make great,
that's true.
so he says, that's a great idea, so I'm
Yeah.
gonna send the first neighbor.
That's the truth.
So what would we do from this point? We draft an ordinance, put an ordinance together?
Yeah, we'd have to have one.
We would,
drafted.
once the council gave us some direction of what you
Well,
want to see in an ordinance.
I think we kind of heard the direction that we're going in.
And I think we'll probably have to go through a couple
Right.
rewrites of it,
Yeah.
once we get it down. You know, it'll take us a while to get the exact wording down.
And you might have some residents here who want to give
Yeah,
you
we're
some more
probably gonna
input.
get some
to
good
that.
ideas also.
And as Tom says, we'll get some input from the police about enforcement and how
True.
to word
Right.
things, because that's one of the things, you want it to be clear enough that
It's
when
enforceable.
violations occur, they feel they can write the violation.
Yeah,
Right.
and the signage so
Yes,
people
and
know
the
who walk
signage
into
go
the
along
park,
with it.
right.
I
yeah.
think if we could come up with something like Morris County did, so when you register your dog,
You're
you
handed something.
you're handed something, so.
Right.
Yeah, you need to educate.
Absolutely.
If you look at that, I think we do have rules for the dog park.
Yes.
You can see how, and a lot of those rules are for the dog.
Well, the
park. You
dog
can
part
even
needs
see-
cleaning up. That's a whole.
Well,
that's
I'm
a
not
whole
sure,
different
Kathy. I think I heard at our
I go
Parks and
by it
Rec
every
meeting,
morning.
Is it still
If you
bad?
go to a soccer game and bring your resin chair and leave it there so it's there when you come back, the place is loaded with all these different color resin chairs. They're thrown all over the place. I go by every morning.
Okay,
If you want to go to the dog park, you should either sit on the bench, or if you want to bring a chair, you bring a chair and you bring the chair home with you. You don't scatter the chairs throughout. It's not like this is your living room and you just throw everything around, you know.
all right.
It's a park for all public people and for everybody to enjoy. And when I go by there every morning, I'm outraged. That's our park in Pequannock.
All right, there's another issue at the dog park is when the police have their firing
Yeah,
range.
yeah,
Right?
I saw
That's
that.
a whole nother issue.
Yeah, do we,
Is there gonna be a way
is that
to-
for our explosive use, that firing range, or do we rent that out?
Well, the police department uses it for qualification.
I know
Our police
that.
department, we're
There-
fine with that.
There's a local gun club
Mm-hmm.
that also uses it
And
periodically.
Compton Lakes.
And there are a couple other police departments that periodically will use it for training.
Is there a way to post times that it's gonna be done at, or is that a secret, or? No,
Really?
you never know nowadays, you know, we're not supposed to know when they're gonna be.
Yeah.
I think police departments have to qualify in daylight and at dusk, don't they?
Correct,
Dave?
yes.
Yes.
But,
So, I mean, we can't
4
say that
times
they
a
can
year.
only use
Are we
it
the
9
only
to
one with a
3.
range around?
No, there's one
There you go.
the club has gotten more intense recently. I don't know if they
It's a
got more
Pequannock
members
club?
coming in, but.
Yeah, it's a Pequannock.
It's a Pequannock club?
Well, it interferes with the dog park, obviously.
Well, it does. That's something we need to,
Whether we need to
address.
post times for, that we're gonna be doing, having qualifications or whatever. I don't know, we also need to work that out too, because there's been people out there who are complaining about
Yes,
it.
I have, I've received correspondence.
So we need to take
This is
a
a good
broad
thing for
look
project.
at everything and say,
Yes, more than one,
right. We need to
definitely.
take a broad look at the whole thing and, you know, come up with some ideas.
Yeah, because we have to talk to the police department, find out what's going on there.
Well, I mean, I've spoken to a couple of members of the public also. In terms of our, police qualification, I mean, that's
We're fine
something
with that.
statutorily required, and the
Oh, we support
alternative
them.
is,
We support it 100%.
is costly. The gun club, it has a long-standing history that's certainly within the purview of
Maybe we gotta move the
Everybody
Mark
to
Park, I don't know, I'm just.
change.
curious.
The Bark Park would be easier to change location than the range.
Probably. Well, we'll have to talk
We
about this.
understand that, you're not using the
If they are
range.
in such conflict that they cannot coexist, then
Right.
one would either have to go away or move.
Well, I mean, the police qualification is not that often. That's a
It's
couple
just a
times a
question
year.
of
Well, that's
posting.
the,
And
that's
it
the.
probably-
Well, no,
post
they're
it.
quite often,
It
when I go
probably
by, the
seems
gates
more
are closed.
often than,
Well, that's the gun club, and we probably should get specific times when it's
Right,
gonna
so
be there.
that, right.
So we
well,
know.
they,
So you can let the residents know.
my understanding was they were limited to.
And they were, but I think it's expanded.
Why don't we look into it and then.
Yeah, we can't answer this
Right, we
tonight,
can't answer it tonight, but
We can't.
we'll look into it.
but there's
Or-
a
or
couple
we
different
open a
topics
second
here.
bar
Thursdays and
park.
Sundays.
Dog park.
Yeah, we, this is not the end of this, I know. We're gonna, this is a nice winter
Folks,
project.
this is not the end of this story.
This is not the end of the, thank you, Tom, I'd like to hear from the
Thank you, Mayor.
public
Thank
now.
you, Council.
Yeah,
Well,
thank you.
I would ask council members, if you have anything you'd like to see in the ordinance, get it to Dave.
Yeah.
So as they work on a draft. And
Right.
this is gonna be, it's gonna be January, there's no doubt,
Right.
but
That's okay.
that's, right.
One thing I would say, Dave, and I don't know, maybe, Bob, you could weigh in, is that we don't be so, I don't know if you put a moratorium on enforcing so heavily some of the, Greenview Park and
Well,
stuff. Because we never did before,
We
and now all
have,
of a sudden
we
we
have
are.
never enforced heavily. I mean, the one day it became an issue was the hoedown, and I mean, you've identified as, large events as one of those times when it's probably not appropriate to have dogs. So, I don't think our enforcement was inconsistent with what you're currently saying it should be.
No, but
I'll reinforce that.
I agree with that, but I did see the correspondence, as I believe you did too, was about the street fair, where there's dogs walking up and down that, and I don't know where we can enforce.
Well,
That's
Street
not
Fair
a
is not a
township.
park,
It's not a park,
and
yeah.
we really can't, we don't have much enforcement around that, because those are sidewalks where people do walk.
I think your biggest issue at the street fair is gonna be the vendors, that some of them bring their dog to sit at their chair,
Right.
the workers.
And it's
I
just-
see more dogs from the workers there than I do from
Right.
people walking them around. I mean, I do, it's something we need to discuss because, a dog owner, it's their responsibility. Obviously, if your dog is not gonna behave, you leave it at home. But what do you do in instances like that where they say, I'm gonna be there for 12 hours and I need to bring the dog?
The street
We'll
fair
figure it
really
out.
isn't a town
No,
event.
No, it's
And it's
not.
not in a park, so everything we're talking about here wouldn't apply to that.
Okay, all right, well, I just want to bring it up because it is one of the letters of correspondence that I received.
But there are also existing rules in place for maintaining control of dogs in public right of ways.
Right.
Okay.
They do have to be on leashes, you do
Uh-huh.
have to pick up after them, so there are rules that already exist, and a lot of them follow state statute.
Well, I would just segue off of what Jay said too. We all should really, read what you can, get as much homework as you can. Let's listen to the public, what they got to say, and let's try to get this right. It's been a long time, I think it was 1998 since this
Yeah.
has been looked at. It's high time we look at it, and we want to try to get it right going out of the gate. So it might be a little slow when it's doing it, because we want to do it right. And right now, I'd like to open up to whoever wants to get up and speak about the dog ordinance, because we definitely need input, so we do it
Well, I
right.
think the majority of the people are probably happy with.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
But if they want to add, right.
But stay tuned so you can weigh into our
The
ordinance.
good news is that we're reviewing it and
Just
all
give
the
your name
council
and
is on the
address for the
same page.
record.
Kelly Delia, 492 592 Newark Pompton Turnpike. Although I don't look like I've been hiking for 20 years physically, I've been involved with animal rescue for over 20 years. I've hiked Bergen County, Passaic County, Morris County parks 2 to 3 times a day. There is a problem with people. The biggest problem when I first moved into town was dogs off leash. People didn't realize maybe I'm walking a dog that's not friendly. But the more awareness, and after incidents happening, people started leashing their dogs. Unfortunately, there was a dog struck by a car right in front of somebody's house. They thought their dog was down their property. People have to learn the hard way. I think just like a strong police presence, if there's a strong public presence, people are deterred from leaving the droppings behind. I know when I walk, people are looking in every direction, and as I walk, they're forced to pick up the poop left behind. And I know Morris County Park Commission, Silas Conduct specifically, approximately 10 years ago, they had interns up at the park. They weren't allowed to have any contact with the people. They would take a picture, description, copy down plates. Either the Morris County Park Police would come or the Park Commission would notify them of the dogs off leash, of the dog droppings left behind. And at Silas Conduct, they do have the biodegradable poop bag dispensers. There's always going to be irresponsible owners, pets, children, everywhere. You can't control everything. But I think with the strong presence, whether it be paid people in the prime time, people walk in the woods and go on hikes, or if you have interns going back there volunteering, or just have volunteers that would police, a strong presence, I think would deter a lot of the problems. And right now, a lot of residents are, and I'm so glad and thankful that you are all listening to this. A lot of people are forced to go just in certain areas of their town with their dogs, or they're forced to visit other townships and enjoy their parks when everybody should be enjoying the parks here, and we want people to come to the town and enjoy the parks with their dogs. And I think that it will, in the long run, work on both ends, for the towns, for the pet owners, and there are ways to amicably get along and to work on the problems that exist. If I see more bags, I see more, poop left behind. Would help too to have some garbages. I know with the bears it's hard in the winter, but a lot of people feel like there's no garbages PD Park or maybe at DPW. It'd be nice to have a garbage so you're not carrying bags of poop with you also. It might help, and people to pick up after themselves and throw it in the garbage. And if you're looking for donations for biodegradable bags or anything of the sort, the company I work with is more than happy to donate. Educational courses would be great if Parks and Rec did some educational, like dog bite prevention, responsible dog ownership. I can make some recommendations of people I've had come to our store and run courses such as that. And even like a doggy parade, bring people to the town. I think it would be beneficial all around, and I really thank you for being so hearing us all out and listening to us.
Well, thank you.
Thank
And
you.
it'll be more than that. We're going to need, once we start to write the ordinance, people are going to have to read it and make sure it makes sense,
And I'll volunteer all I can. I've been doing it for over 20 years with several rescues and shelters, so
All right.
my life has been dedicated to the animals.
Thank you. It's nice to meet you finally.
Thank you. Same
Yes.
here.
Anyone else? What up?
I would just say one thing, I think once we get a draft ordinance, then you have something to
Work.
really look at and get comments about.
Right.
Mary Ann Better again. Just as a side for you, the plastic bags, they recycle them at ShopRite, so if somebody asks you, it's right in the front. You recycle.
Thanks.
Steve?
Hello. First, I just want to know when we know about the committee, the skate park committee.
Here you go.
Okay.
I think we're talking about the dogs right now.
Well, I figured we're still in public.
We're not.
Well, this is just about dogs.
Okay, then I'll wait. Should I wait? Or-
Yes.
You got something to say about dogs? Go ahead.
Well, I mean, like I said last time,
Dogs
I
on
didn't
skate.
know about the ordinance. I do have a dog. I walk him a lot, and I love to walk him through Greenview. So, if that's gonna open it up, then
He'll be happy. He'll
I'm
be
for it.
in compliance.
So I'll wait my turn.
Joe?
Yeah, we should.
Kathy, can we announce who's on the skateboard committee?
Yeah, we should.
Joe Wells, 5 Washington
I
Street.
gave up my things.
Just a suggestion about, just a minor thing. Most of the dog owners here know about about picking up after a dog just for the common sense of it. But a lot of people in town, I don't think, realize that it's an offense, that could lead to a fine. And one of the things that would be pretty easy for a ranger to do or whatever, when you see somebody with a dog in a park, hi, how you doing? They're either gonna have an empty dog bag or a full one. If they have neither, they should be made aware that if they don't have a bag, they're potentially liable for a fine and maybe a comment the first time, a warning the second time, and maybe a violation, a fine the third time.
I think you'll see that in the ordinance.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I mean, it's something that we could just, an ordinance is one thing, and it's just what the main point of our discussion tonight. But I think one of the things that would make the non-dog owners in our town, the less dog crap they see, the happier they would be. I don't think that would be a bad sign for anyone. But I think that's also important to get acceptance of that. You're going to see probably more dog owners in parks, and there is a lot of people in our town that probably don't want that. There's always an opposing group in anything that we have. So the more that we can do to have acceptance of what we think is a logical idea would be a good idea, to educate everyone.
Well, I think it's going to take a lot. It's going to take education. It's going to take people being willing to say something when somebody's not in compliance. Because they can't come to a town council meeting 3 weeks later and say, I saw someone doing something, because there's nothing that can be done if it's not handled at the moment.
I think the problem we had was that we had an ordinance that was almost non-enforceable. It was just a little too strong, and so it wasn't enforced. And I think the point of our discussion is to make an ordinance that's fair to everyone, and then apply a just way of implementing that. And people should be fined if they don't follow the rules, if the rule is a fair one.
I agree.
Okay.
I agree. Thank you. Anyone else? Get him back right here, and then you're next. In the middle.
Hi, my name's Loretta Taranio. I live at 61 3rd Street. About the dog park, I didn't want to get into it too much because I would like to see this other ordinance get done first.
Yeah, they're two different topics.
Yeah, but since you brought it up, a couple of things. The chairs, for one thing. Yeah, there are a lot of people who bring the chairs. They find them, somebody's throwing out a bunch of chairs, they'll bring them down to the dog park. Because the way the dog park gets used, it is a bit of a community there. It's like having your kids in school. You have, the dog owners all know each other. You meet a lot of people that way. So they take the chairs and they sit in circles and they talk while the dogs run around. Or mostly though, what they do is in the summertime, it is steaming hot there, and they take the chairs and they go. Now the trees are finally big enough, they move the chairs in the shade of the tree, and that's where they sit. The benches are not necessarily in any shade. They don't promote conversation, or you're not facing anybody. The new table that they have now gets moved around according to the shade or the sunshine, depending on the weather. That works pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
But also, the other thing is that the covering on the ground in the dog park is when they were doing some kind of fill in the firing range, they dumped large stones in part of the dog park, and the dogs don't like to. My dog can barely walk on those stones, and some of the dogs it doesn't bother, but some
Was that
it does.
recently?
It was this year that those came down in near the entrance. And as far as the gun club goes, they meet on Sunday from 10 to 12, I believe, during the winter months. And when it starts being light out at night, they move to Tuesdays during the summer. So I believe they only come once a week. It's either Sunday morning or Tuesday night.
So it's not that often.
It's not that often, and most of the people who know about it, most of us who are regulars know about it. So if you just put a posting, it's the cops that come. They don't close the park when the cops come, but the dogs, of course, can't stand the noise. So if you, it's not so bad for me. I live in town, but there are people who come from Kinnelon or, because we have out of town. So they come all the way down, and then the cops are there. The cops come from Patterson, Clifton, Pompton Lake. They come from all over the place. So I don't know if there is a way to have a schedule that would really be nice.
That would be helpful then.
Well,
Yeah.
we're gonna look into it, so give us some time and maybe we can come up with some answers. I do have a suggestion out of the box. What if we were to put a shed there? Would people be willing to put the chairs away when they're done using them? Or, no?
Some people are very good, and
Everybody's
but
gotta
you know
be
what?
very good.
If you have something that looks nice, that's uniform, and instead of people grabbed a few things out of the garbage, because that wooden table gets a lot of use,
It's a suggestion.
and it looks nice.
It's a suggestion. If we were to do
Yeah,
something.
I think yeah,
Because I can see the need for the chairs,
yeah.
but I also see the need of trying to keep it neat looking instead of.
Yeah.
Bring your own chair.
Yeah, like when I go to a
Chairs.
soccer game, I bring my
Yeah.
chair, I fold it up, I bring it back. I go to the beach, I bring my beach chair, I don't leave it at the beach, I bring it back with me.
But I think it's convenient. I see your point.
But then there needs to be a place, so they need to be stacked
Well,
or
some
something.
people
They're just
walk
thrown
to
all
the
over the
dog
place.
park.
Right, I see the point behind the chairs. I mean, it's just trying to do something to make it look a little bit better. But
Yeah.
I'm sure there's solutions for that, and also for future reference, a water source would be nice.
Yeah, I think the dog park was put together, I believe it was a Girl Scouts goal, and maybe it wasn't thoroughly thought out, so now's our chance to rethink it and make it better.
Well, there was a lot of thought into it, it's just the fact that it grew so
It was
so
popular.
successful.
I don't think it was ever designed.
Designed to be just successful.
right, and it's a good thing. It's not
It's a
a
very good thing.
Yeah, so it's our chance to fix it, with everybody's input. No, thank you for talking about it.
One more, Ken.
Yeah, one more, and then we're gonna move on. Name and address. Yeah, you can move that.
It's Wanda Vogel, 126 Hillview Road. And I was very grateful for a lot of the things that she said. They were things that I was going to comment on. But I'd also like to thank the town for having the ranger come and really enforce the membership. There were many dogs neutered, not neutered, semi-aggressive that were using the park. So it's been very helpful that the ranger has been checking badges, and we really appreciate that. The stone she's talking about is crushed stone with really sharp edges, and the first layer of gravel that's there is more riverjack, the rounded edges. So there are a lot of dogs that are having difficulty with it. I do bring my own chair, but I am also responsible for donating some of the chairs that are there, and the wind blows some of it down. And when we are there, we put it back, but those chairs are used tremendously. If you take a good look at the benches that are permanently embedded, I don't know when the park was initially installed. I've been using it for 3 years. They're really starting to wear. That special heavy coating of plastic is peeling away, and some of the benches are maybe 1.5 feet off the ground. So even someone shorter than I am has difficulty sitting on the low benches. So seating is an issue now. And as I was going to repeat the same thing she said about the gun club, they're only there, and we know their schedule, and so that's easy for us to accommodate. And we understand that the police officers need to qualify, and of course we want well-qualified officers in an emergency. But like, for just as an example, last week, all 5 weekdays, I'm a teacher, I was there at 3:30. They were already there, they were there through dusk, all 5 days. And the park is the only place that I can allow my dog to run off leash, not even in our unfenced backyard at this point do we have a recall with her that we can go anywhere else. So if there were a way to, even stagger the times. One day they come in the morning, one they come in the afternoon, one they come in the evening, so that there's more of a rotation of when they're using it. That would be helpful, so that different people
Right.
with different schedules could
That
get
must
to
have
the
been
park to
unusual.
use it.
Right, like I said, give us time to.
Right, no, I
You know,
understand.
This is something that we're just hearing now, and,
Right.
you know.
Okay, all right. No, thank you for the input.
Thank you.
I promise you, we're gonna make this better. Yeah.
Kathy, you want me to read you,
Yes,
All right, so the people that will be serving on the skate park advisory committee, Councilman Rich Phelan will be the council representative. Tom Andrea will be the Parks and Rec committee representative. Stephen Conley, Jordan Galliano, Aaron Meyer, and David Sipple.
okay. So there's no reports or notices this
What about
evening?
the 2016 meeting calendar reorganization meeting? we're
Maybe
discussing?
pick a date. Oh, all right.
When's the reorg?
Everybody got their calendars? Or do we just want to make sure we know for next time?
First is what, Friday?
Yeah, the first is a Friday.
We only did it once on the first one.
So it's not gonna be the first, not gonna be second or the third.
We're not doing that again.
Monday the fourth.
Monday the 4th is fine.
I think Monday is the fourth.
That works for me.
I'm only guessing.
It is. Monday's the fourth.
Sounds good to me.
Monday the 4th,
Monday the 4th.
Is everybody able to commit?
Yeah, that's fine.
7 PM.
You okay? Okay.
Excuse me,
Good.
7 PM.
Want to make it a little bit earlier?
6
It's up to you.
Yeah.
6.
Six. Take it to six.
Take 4 if you want.
Shake it up a bit.
6 o'clock?
6 o'clock.
We're doing in the morning, they've done that.
You can do that too.
6 in the morning?
Sure.
No,
I will make it. Jay and I will make it, right, Jay?
you'll be lonely. Okay. Reports and notices, none. Managers report.
I'm sorry, wait. There was also the calendar for the year, the meetings for the year. Are they okay?
Agreed to that. The second Tuesday and the fourth Tuesday, how's it?
Yeah, we're not changing anything. That.
The only one that might be a conflict, I don't think it is that there is a presidential election on one of these days.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Well, then we go maybe take a look. Or we'll
I
take a
asked
look.
around and apparently it's not uncommon to have council meetings on
I don't
election
see any
day.
reason why we would.
Well, but Carol,
We've
I
had
don't know.
council meetings when there was council elections.
Some people think that's a holiday.
I'm fine with it.
How about the 27th of December?
What's that?
How about the 27th of December?
That's always up in the air anyway, so we can deal with it.
Yeah, right. We can have
That's
it.
not a big deal with it. But it's nothing to do with it.
Maybe.
There might be a 10 a.m. meeting.
The 27th? Oh, we advertised it in one time, we had to do another. Is it an issue, Carol?
Not as long as somebody tells me and I'll advertise it. I mean, it's okay to change it. It's probably easier if you do it up front, but, I mean, it's,
What's on the agenda?
right. It's fine.
And you're okay with the election?
If it was a primary election, I might have a bigger problem, but I think it'll be fine.
All right, then we're good.
Carol will be busy that night.
Ah, but we have a deputy clerk who seems entirely capable of.
So we're good. Okay, just leave it as standard.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Dave, read the chart.
Updated project status report is attached. 2 items were removed from the previous list as they have been completed. They are the FEMA flood mitigation acquisition grants and the fire apparatus replacement. 2 additional projects are shown complete this month: Jefferson Street reconstruction and the trash disposal rate reduction with new contracts in place. The new recycling collection schedule started last Monday with very high participation on the first collection day. So far, the level of service seems very good. Due to the short week of Thanksgiving, the collection day is Saturday, November 21st, not Monday, November 23rd. This is noted in the information that was mailed to all the homes in the township and will be indicated on the information sign, website, and Channel 77. Only pointed out because it is a unusual substitution. We're doing it the Saturday before the Monday that there will be no collection. The township received official notification of the grant award for emergency generators. This is coming out of the Hurricane Sandy Hazard Mitigation Funds. So 3 years later, it's nice to finally have official notification that we received a grant for $417,995.
How many generators is that place on?
One really big one and two small ones.
Two small ones at the firehouses, one really big one at the firehouses.
The high school. The high school.
And one of the smaller ones is actually a replacement of DPW, so that the whole facility will be powered rather than just doors and fuel. The fall leaf collection program is underway. Residents are reminded to rake leaves to the curb but not into the street, so they do not interfere with stormwater drainage, create a hazard for motorists, bicyclists, or pedestrians. Or
They never
dogs.
follow.
What I have to say.
Okay,
Feel
all right.
obligated to say.
They're not supposed to be in the street?
They are not
They're all in the
supposed to be
street.
in the street.
Oh, they're all in the street. Oops.
Next year we'll have to say it was earlier.
Tonight when I go home, I'll break them back.
How much is the violation for that? $1,000?
I also feel obligated to say never park a car on a pile of leaves, as obvious as that seems. That is my report.
Okay. Council reports? Councilman Cole?
You know, we had the Parks and Rec Advisory Board meeting, and it was a spirited meeting with the dog.
That's a good way to put it.
I missed last night's open space meeting due to a work commitment, but we did apply for a Morris County Trail grant, and that grant, we should hear by the end of November if we receive that grant or not. That was a $15,000 grant that we applied for. That's it.
Okay. Councilwoman Florence Lynch?
I don't have much, just the the Environmental Commission meets tomorrow night at 7:30. And the Flood Committee will be meeting this Thursday at 7:30. My understanding is our EDC, Economic Development, they're scheduled to meet the day before Thanksgiving, and I think they're moving it to next week, so I told them to make sure they told Carol if it's going to be moved a week early.
Thank you.
So that would be, actually when we're away at the league, that would be the 18th they're going to move it to at 7:30. Other than that, I don't really have anything.
Is there anything you want to say about, I saw a survey, which I actually took.
Oh, yes, Economic Development. They did get out a online survey for EDC. They're trying to get input from business owners, from residents, that shop in town, and also landlords. So my understanding is so far it's been put on Facebook and it's been emailed out. We're trying to get it out 2 other ways. So there's not going to be a mailing. It's all online or by Facebook. So
It is on the website too.
yes, and
At
it's
the
on the
very
website,
bottom.
and it is on the website. I think they were going to try to see if Parks and Rec could push it out with their email blast. They were going to check with Diane and Dave on that. So please, if you are anyone in town, when you go in, go ahead and take the survey. We want your input. We want to see what do you want the business environment to look like. So there's a lot of questions, whether you're a resident or a business owner.
Yeah, it was very good.
We
I took
encourage
it.
you to take that.
It's very good. It's on the front page of the website, at the very bottom. Takes about 5 minutes. But really, it's the input is needed.
The input's needed, and then Economic Development's going to pull it all together and make a presentation at some point with council after they meet with business owners and whatnot. But please take that. Thank you for reminding me.
No, that's good. Yeah. Councilman Bailey?
The First Aid Squad purchased with their own money a vehicle called an ASAP. Did I get that right, Dave? ASAP? I had asked Chief Lyons to bring that for council to take a look at today. Is he here?
No.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mike. Okay. Sorry, Mike. Hey, Mike Fortuna. I asked Chief Lyons to bring it here for the council to see at 6:30, but unfortunately, because of the fire in Patterson and Company 2 and Company 1 being out, some members of Company 2 and some members of Company 1 being out, and it's raining because the ASAP can't go out in the rain. they were not going to bring it here, so maybe the next meeting they'll bring it, and I don't know if you
What is
guys.
it used for? I saw the picture of it on Facebook, but I don't know exactly what it's utilized
It's
for.
used in off-road areas, would be the best way to describe it.
Mountainside Park?
Yeah, it's not like a four-wheel drive off-road, although it can function to a certain extent. It's more for parks, large capacity events, you know, football games at the high school, hoedown, street fair, things where a large full-size vehicle is not as maneuverable, but you still need to have emergency response capability. So you've got all the equipment on this vehicle, and we borrow one for some of our events. We always have one for the triathlon, which is part of the county task force. We have enough events in town that it would certainly provide some utility to what the squad's already doing.
Right, and it wouldn't surprise me if it gets used out of town too, gets called to certain
Does it fit
events and
inside
stuff.
the bays then? Is it-
Yes, because the chief vehicle doesn't park in there anymore, so now the ASAP can park in there.
Okay.
And while we're on the subject, ambulance 57 is falling apart, and Dave, I'm sure you heard. Okay, well, okay.
Yes, I have the request.
Okay, you have, it needs a new turbo, it needs this, it needs that, and we're gonna make it the third vehicle out, so there's some issues with that, but we can talk about it
Maybe
later.
they get another bequest. Maybe they should have spent their money on that.
I think it's the town's responsibility to supply the ambulances, but that's besides the point. Anyway, that's it for my report.
Okay, Councilman Vanderhoff.
Back up Dave in the recycling, last Monday I spent about an hour riding around in the morning, and I was amazed at the participation. The county, the town, all got the information out. The amount of recycling out there was tremendous. For the first day, something brand new.
Yeah.
The township residents really paid attention and did a good job.
Yeah, we estimated about 70% participation on the first Monday, and we believe we were pushing almost 80% yesterday, so.
That's
very
great.
good. Also, at the league meeting, there is one seminar on pipelines.
Oh, you took my thunder.
You know.
Here's, did you hear that? There's a seminar on pipelines at
That's
our
great
conference next week.
Where's the conference?
That's it.
AC.
AC. So I plan on attending. You want a copy of what it is? Here. This is, yeah, you can have a copy of it. Yeah. You're not going. You have a copy. No, it is. It looks like a good one for anybody. It's going to give both sides of the story. And,
Probably be one of the more heavily attended.
yeah, probably have to be here
Meetings.
early to get in, right? Yeah, maybe they'll have it in a larger.
Other than that, that's it.
All right, thank you. Okay, so the only thing I have to say is from the Historic Commission, we met this week and we talked about mostly, probably the Martin Berry House. They talked about that they have 71 paid members now on their Historic Commission. And our historian at Engelbart actually is doing a 6-part lecture series at Cedar Crest. So that should be very interesting. He's going to do that on all different topics, not just on the Martin Berry House. And there's actually an oral history taking place with Eleanor Bogart being conducted by Rutgers. And she's had one session so far, and I think the next session's scheduled for this Friday. It's going to be a 3-part series. I understand it's been quite a task keeping her on topic. And that's all I have. Next on the agenda is public comment. If anyone wishes to address the council, please wait to be recognized to come to the microphone. Provide your name and address for the record. Frank?
Frank Spazzeri, 35 West Franklin Avenue. I'd just like to make a comment about the pistol range. When I first moved into town, the Fin and Feather Club used to have turkey shoots there before the dog park. I was also part of the pistol team. I also went through qualifications when I was a special, so that pistol range has been there for ages. And just keep that in mind, that the pistol range was there before the dog park was there. So when you come up with whatever you're going to do, you know, I think the pistol range is more important I know people that own dogs think that the dog park is more important, but qualifications, like somebody said up there, is a must for the police. And for the people that belong to the pistol club, it's in your blood. I mean, I wish I could still do it, but, you know, I probably could. Got enough guns home.
Beware.
Joining tomorrow, or?
I might join tomorrow, yeah. But just keep that in mind when you, whatever you're gonna do.
Same token, I mean, thanks to Frank, some of the property, we have a lot of property now that's vacant.
Yeah.
So,
There's other areas.
another Eagle Scout project or something, maybe
Yeah.
time for another dog park in another section of town.
Well, yeah, particularly the reason why that they put the pistol range there was because it has a mountain behind it, so that you get any
There
ricochets.
was no West Parkway when that was,
No, it's true, yeah, so, I mean,
nobody went back there.
the dog park, I could see that being moved somewhere else, but,
I wouldn't say move it, but.
Have an alternate when,
yeah,
when it's needed.
whatever you're gonna do, just
Yeah.
keep that in mind.
No, thank you, Frank. Anyone, Steve? Oh, I'm sorry. Could you give that to me?
Stephen Connolly, 44 Duncan Avenue. Just want to say thank you for the opportunity to put together this advisory committee. I think we'll be able to put together a solid proposal for the town council to look at. I also want to thank Tom and Rich for being on the committee and giving their input. And I know, you know, that we had more than a few applications, and I know that people that aren't, or kids, people who aren't on the committee are definitely going to be involved and giving their input as well. So just want to say thank you and look forward to
Yeah.
to
So
working.
it'll be up to, you, I guess Tom left.
Yeah, Tom, he gave me his email.
Right, and you
I'm
can
gonna
stay.
be talking to Steve and
Yeah.
figure out what we're gonna do, so.
Yeah.
We'll
Exactly.
get that put together real quick.
And
Yeah,
that way you can get it
definitely.
advertised so that others can come.
Yeah.
If there's people, yeah.
Also, there is news on that Nike donation. Just FYI, it might be premature to talk about it, but I was given a deadline of November to get it out the warehouse because they're moving. So we raised money and got a donation of service from Chris's Towing in Pequannock and raised money for the forklifts. You need a 10,000 pound forklift to lift them. So we raised money for all that, and we have a spot that we're going to have them housed until we
Oh,
can
great.
figure out what to do with them.
When's the move?
Very
I
soon.
hope you're gonna video it. You're gonna video
Probably,
it.
definitely.
Yeah, you probably will.
Yeah, photos, everything.
Great.
So,
Thank you. Come on up. Sharon, you're next. Okay.
John Bannon, 212 Greenleaf Court, Pompton Plains, which is Cedar Crest. Oh, thank you very much, man. It's encouraging to see some of the younger neophyte voters appearing at these town councils. It's good. I wasn't going to talk on the pipeline, but thank you, Jay, for giving us the report from the League of Municipalities. I think there's only one bill here that really applies to what we've been discussing in past months. It's Senator Cody's bill, and I've been in touch with the staff there. It's still in the Environmental Committee under Senator Bob Smith. They're only going to, have one more meeting. Realistically, it's not on the agenda unless the sponsor asks for it. And I don't know if he's going to ask for it to be on the agenda at the Environmental Committee meeting. The session, the 216th session, as you know, ends first or second week in January. So all bills on it that are not passed that have been handled will have to be reintroduced. And there's no guarantee that any bills that are outstanding during this session will be reintroduced. I couldn't get a commitment on that bill. You people have suggested that the arena perhaps we should be directing our efforts is the state level, and I happen to agree. I believe ordinances are nice, and I fought for the ordinance here, but I don't think you guys have that clout. If the state rules, the preeminent of this political entity being the state, and above them the federal government. Federal government will have nothing to do with that. But you have said, Dave, and some of the others, that you have been working with the state and in touch, and you gave me copies of letters, I think, from John Gray, people in DEP, which I appreciate. But I asked any of these people if they spoke to anybody here in Pequannock, and they said no. Now, McEwen is our senator. I haven't been able to speak to him, but who do you deal with down there? If you are dealing with anybody that is dealing with legislation pertaining to pipelines.
Well, yeah, our legislative district currently is,
Scott Romano,
Scott
McEwen.
Romano, Senator O'Toole.
O'Toole, okay, maybe I got the wrong guy then. Okay, and you've dealt with him? Because I think part of our effort, or my effort, or maybe the Lone Ranger here, I do contact legislators both in Washington, and the only one in Washington responding, as we all know, is Representative Frelinghuysen, Congressman Frelinghuysen, in a positive way. But I just want to remind you that I don't think this particular bill, Jay, is going to go anywhere. The session is too close to the end of the session.
May not, but they are, it's on their table, so.
Yeah, it came from the Environmental and Growth Committee. I don't know what went on there, but maybe you
There's
know.
one bill there that appears to be pro.
Yeah. Now, most of these bills here, the other bills you highlighted are dealing with gas lines, and that's really what I'm up here to speak about. As you know, Spectra and Algonquin goes right through Pequannock, and over 1,000 feet is on the Cedar Crest property, less than 100 yards from my apartment. And I have special concerns like some other people like Nat, in case of an emergency. And reading the material that they have mailed me, I have difficulty speaking to a human being in this world. You get referred on phone hookups and you can't get anybody. But one word that leaps out at you when you read anything from a gas company and an oil company, but this is gas, and it's here in the property, and it's all over northern New Jersey. And I think there's 7 pipeline issues going on in New Jersey, all over the state, including the Pinelands. The key word is evacuation. So my question for you is, I know what I'm going to do if there ever is 1 in a million shot that there's a disaster. It would take care of my wife. And talking to Tom here tonight, I've discussed that we have evacuation procedures in any guys here in this town. He said they do practice in the schools. You know, what to do in case of fire, which we do up at Cedar Crest. But most of them, they don't deal with evacuation. So I'm wondering, and I'm not putting you on the spot, I'm just opening this for discussion. Do you have any plans for evacuation? The reason I bring it up, we're in a peculiar part of town. We had a fire request here a week or 2 ago. It took 20 minutes for the fire department to get there. But we're in a unique spot. We're in Pequannock, but there's no roads into Pequannock, into Cedar Crest from Pequannock. So the fire department has to leave town, go through another town, go up a state highway to get back to our things. So in case of an emergency, for the life of me, I don't know how they would evacuate a community which is a high-density populated area like ours. So I'm just asking you.
Dave will let you know. Dave will.
Yeah. Who do I speak to?
Yeah.
Would it be you, Dave? And I'm bringing this up with the people up the hill here, so you.
We'll tell you what they are.
And I have probably a little more interest and experience than the average town manager because I'm also a firefighter, and past fire chief, and I've spent a lot of time at Cedar Crest in those capacities. Cedar Crest, as you mentioned, is a unique development within our township, but it's also the most fire-safe development, not only in the township, but probably in the county. It's fire-resistive construction. The buildings themselves will not burn. The most common technique would be evacuation in place. Shut the doors, close the windows, and when emergency services arrives, they will determine the safest location. In the event of a fire, any type of fire, what the on-site security are trained to do is evacuate in place. Keep people exactly where they are so that the fire department emergency services can provide if necessary, an orderly evacuation floor by floor, so that we don't have, hundreds, potentially 1,000 residents trying to use the same roads, hallways, facilities at the same time. So there are plans in place. They are practiced in both tabletop drills and in practical drills. Matter of fact, there was one scheduled for just a couple weeks ago with Cedar Crest, but it apparently interfered with a planned power outage that
Yes, they went through that too.
they
yeah.
were scheduled for the same day, so that the
The
evacuation drill.
The major feeder lines into the property, they did a nice job.
So
on it.
that drill was actually canceled.
Mhm.
Pequannock Township does provide primary fire service.
Mhm.
Our mutual aid fire companies are all familiar with the facility, have spent some time there, and will drill there in the future. So
Yeah.
You're in good
you
hands.
should feel safe that your building is one of the safest.
Well, I won't get into I could tell you some stories, but I won't do for lack of time. But the idea that to stay in place, if there was something on the magnitude of the one in Edison 25 years ago, where it immediately took out 105 apartments, I don't think people will stay in place, and I wouldn't stay in place either. Evacuation means get out. And we have a unique situation in that not only it's hard to get to for the fire apparatus and the emergency people, but we're in the middle of a forest. We just went through a semi-drought period. And of course, that place will go up like a Roman candle also. So what do you do? And I mean, run like hell is all I can see. If you can.
I'd be happy to meet with you and go over some of those
Yeah,
plans.
well, I
in
want to,
detail
I'm
if
going to
you'd like.
meet with Lou Varela. I want to see what they're doing on their end first before I burden you. But I was wondering if there was something in place, because a couple other stories in other parts of the country I've come across gave me some pause. And particularly the Pilgrim Pipeline people, not Pilgrim, the Spectre in Algonquin, evacuate, it leaps out there. The third thing, just a comment aside, our good neighbors to the north, the, what's that fancy, La Grande? They made the national news about a year and a half ago. They have DNA in every dog on their property, and if they find poop, they check it out, and there's a $250 fine, the first offense, $500, and so on. So if you got a dog that has diarrhea, you better have a more than $1,000 cap on it, I'm telling you something.
John, here's another copy if you want of that. This is where the council's gonna go. Okay. We'll report back.
Good evening, Council. Sharon Taylor, 19 Libby Avenue, Pompton Plains section of Pequannock Township. Skate for life, huh? Are you guys excited? I think it's a great idea, and thank you to the council. I just have a few points tonight, but I think it's a great idea. You're really piquing the interest here, and it's going to be a great achievement for the younger kids in this township. So, are you excited, Rich?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
Definitely.
I could read right through you right now, so I'm going to tell you.
We'll make you excited.
Don't judge a book by its cover. Okay, and you have to have like an open mind. You got to be creative. I just hope that the members, maybe not all of them, but they do come to every meeting to give us an update and to show that they're really interested and that they're making progress on it. But just keep an open mind, okay? Promise? All right. Also, thank you very much for the dogs being allowed to be in parks. I can't wait to walk my dog through Woodland Lake without David covering his ears. I was almost going to bring my dog tonight, but thank God I didn't. I don't think it's a good idea if they're not allowed in municipal buildings. But, I hear also a lot of comments about owners not picking up and all. And, you love your dog, you love its, I can't say it. But it's okay to enforce that rule, and it's okay for people to be open about it. But to be honest, I walk my dog everywhere, and I don't really foresee it to be a problem. I've had it happen where, if somebody's dog goes on my lawn, if I'm out there, I tell them, but it doesn't happen all the time. So, hopefully that part gets cleared up. But it's great that people in this township are able just to kind of walk freely where they want and allow their dogs and pets to be with them for the most part. So also with the dog park, I don't bring my dog there. I'm not registered to bring my dog there, but I mean, I personally don't think there should be chairs left behind or water provided. I think it should be a clean space, but it's your responsibility. And, you know, if the township is looking to move that into a different area, we have plenty of acreage, you know, in this township. So you can make it more comfortable where it works on both sides of the world for everybody.
I wouldn't say move it, maybe a second.
You got plenty of room behind here.
Right. Well, it's there. So
Yeah. I think it's, and if you notice any of the Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts, they, anything that they created, it's been pretty popular. So that's something good that at least the kids that create something, they've left a good landmark. But I personally don't go back there, but I just think that if you have animals and they're registered to be there, that they should clean up. There should be no chairs left behind. There should, you know, it's your responsibility. And then just another thought that I think the township should just promote that if your dog's registered, to keep the township up to date with all the files on their pets. So that this way they are registered, they have up-to-date shots and everything. You know, that would be helpful as well. And my last question is, when is the budget meetings for next year?
We don't know yet. January, February, but we don't know yet.
All right.
Well, the typical budget calendar is, requests are submitted by office last month. I hold department hearings in November. I submit a budget to the council in January, and council starts their deliberation late January, early February. And those are all statutory dates.
So do I get my wish list in now, or?
Yeah, and as we always tell you, Sharon, please come.
Oh, I'll try to make it this year, I promise.
Because you weren't there last year.
I know, I was working. I worked, sometimes I'm working till like 2 o'clock in the morning. Where's Robert though? I'm telling you, I have a heavy workload. I work till like 2 o'clock in the morning sometimes, I'm tired. But I promise I'll make it to this meeting.
Please.
I'll give you my menu, like what I take
What
a
you
salad
want.
with grilled chicken, you know, something good. But, okay, so it's gonna be sometime early then next year, January?
Yeah, January, February.
Okay,
There's usually a series of them.
okay, thank you.
Come on. State your name, not your address.
My name is Aaron Mayer, and in reference to the skate park, I just wanted to read an email that we got from Allison Afflito, and my sister is friends with her son, so I know they live on Hopper, I believe, but it says, I'm so happy to contribute to the building of a skate park in Pequannock. The kids I personally know who love skating in this town are such great kids, scouts, musicians, future engineers, athletes, etc. Any opportunity to create a space for our kids to hone a skill, to move and to connect is a win as far as I'm concerned. Please consider donating. So that's just all I wanted to point out.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor.
Are we good? Okay. Done with public comment. I believe we have one item for a closed session. So do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Thank you.